Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Pisces New Moon webinar of the 2025 initiative. We gather together under the sign of Pisces this time to close the cycle of our ongoing meditation on 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Today we reflect on the role of Sustainable Development Goals in manifesting the divine plan. And we prepare ourselves to the beginning of the new cycle of the continuous meditation in support of the Sustainable Development Goals. So thank you for joining us today. Let's start our work.
So as we move into our contemplations today, I'll just remind everyone that we will be entering into the discussion after our meditation so that we can capture impressions and thoughts that might have come through during the meditation. As we now bring our focus to our purpose with this ongoing work and to this particular webinar today. So our meditation work through the New Moon webinars focusing on the UN Sustainable Development Goals is one of supporting and strengthening a shared vision of formulated thought forms of solution to address the many issues facing humanity and the planet. The intention is to vitalize thought forms that help to create physical conditions, leading to the transformation and elevation of human consciousness as a whole. So within the current new moon and solar phase, we work under the energies of Pisces, the final sign of the zodiacal year, and that rules endings and marks the gateway into the new cycle. We've completed our second 17-month cycle of meditation on the Sustainable Development Goals at the Aquarius new moon last month. And we now take pause to survey the past and vision the future as we prepare to step through the doorway to the inauguration of the third cycle of meditation on the goals next month at the Aries new moon. And we use this moment to contemplate the question, what is the role of the Sustainable Development Goals in the unfolding divine plan? And we note the changes underway as we continue to support the SDGs through our meditations together. And we also today aim to widen our perspective on the unfoldment of the plan by challenging ourselves to take a historical view, expanding our time frame to perceive the dynamic of the plan as that expresses in 100-year cycles. We're conscious at this time of the turning of a great 100-year cycle for humanity, and we focus our gaze towards the 100-year anniversaries of the founding of the civil service, the initiation of the Tibetan's dispensation through Alice Bailey, and also around a similar time the work of the Roerichs and their work bringing to light the Mother of the World, which synchronizes in with the granting of the women's vote in the US, which was the culmination of 20 years of activism by courageous women worldwide. In our contemplations today, we evoke the synthetic nature of Pisces, which embraces the qualities of all the other signs, to take an overview that includes all the goals. We attune to the hidden riches of Pluto, the esoteric ruler of Pisces, as we seek to deepen our group understanding of the significance of the SDGs as a whole in relationship to the plan and also in relationship to the preparation for the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. And through our group reflection on the goals, under this sign of the world saviour, we seek to explore the role of the group of world servers as a collective world saviour of our times. And I'll just read in here a couple of sentences from the Labours of Hercules, which Dot came across earlier this morning in America, which says that now humanity, the human monster, is ready for salvation, and the real work of the world saviour can begin as a whole with group concept underlying the work, rather than individual soul saving.
Thank you, Rebecca. So we're going to now take a few minutes, and we've been experiencing bringing ourselves by name and where we are calling in from into this circle. We unite our hearts across distance as we do this, and the way this will work is when you look at there's a staff list and an attendees list, and we will begin with the organizer's staff list. I will say the name, and then that person will say their name and where they are calling in from, and I will say welcome to that person. If more than 10 seconds goes by after saying the name, I'll still say welcome, and then we'll simply move on. And we really felt, and the feedback was wonderful following the last New Moon webinar, that there's a very loving heart quality that occurs when we take the time to do this naming circle. So Rebecca's going to take just a moment and once again share how we use the GoToWebinar control panel as briefly and concisely as we can, but so that it gets easier and easier for all of us. Rebecca?
Thank you, Dot, and thanks. Here's the slide. Thanks, Alexander. So your control panel may look a little different to this depending on your computer, but all the features should be there. So this will give you an idea what to look for. So you need to use the control panel to unmute yourself and to see the alphabetical list. And if you can't see the control panel, you just need to click on that red arrow that's at the top here that you can see. It says hide control panel next to it. That's if your control panel is open, obviously. If you can only just see the bar and you want to open your control panel, just click that red arrow and it will open the panel. The microphone on the side, which is green in the little key on the left and red in the illustration on the right, that should be green, and that will go green when Alexander unmutes you, and I think you can use that icon to unmute yourself as well, but you'll see further into the control panel in the audio box there's a little microphone icon as well that is usually red, and you need to click that to unmute yourself. So you need to have both of those icons green to be able to be heard. And then you can mute yourself again by clicking the little icon in the audio box so that we can hear everyone else really well as well. For the attendees label, to open up the alphabetical list, it could be in two different places. Up the top on the right-hand illustration where it says audio in that grey bar up the top, sometimes you will see a bar that says attendees up there, or further down where there's a questions bar, you might see the attendees bar there, and Alexander will have that enabled for viewers, so you should be able to, for attendees, so you should be able to see an attendees bar somewhere on your screen, and if you click it, that will drop down and you should be able to see both the attendees and the staff lists there. And if you cannot find the list, you'll still hear Doc greet you by name, so make sure when that happens, just quickly make sure that you're unmuted, and then you'll be able to respond. And as Dot said, if you can't unmute yourself, she will go ahead and say your name into the circle and welcome you into the circle regardless. So your presence will be with us, even if you're unable to speak. Back to you, Dot.
Thank you.
If I may just add one more thing, that I suggest as we go through the list to visualize us all sitting in a circle, and as each person says own name and place where you are from, just send the light of your heart and love of your heart to that person, linking with that person, and therefore connecting our circle with this circuit of love and light.
Thank you, Alexander.
Yeah.
So again, I will say each name, and then, for example, Dot Maver, calling in from North Carolina in the United States. And then I will say welcome, and we will continue. So Rebecca, do you want to do this initially, and then we'll go through the organizing list and then attendees?
Yes. Rebecca. Hello, it's Rebecca here. I'm in the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Rebecca. Daniela.
Good day, everyone. Daniela here, and I'm calling from Belgium, Brussels. Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Daniela. Darcy.
Hello, everyone. Darcy here, calling in from the Washington, D.C. area in the United States of America.
Welcome, Darcy. Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy, Judy Norman, and I'm calling from Sydney, Australia.
Welcome, Judy. Marco?
Hello, everyone. I'm calling from Weehawken, New Jersey in the United States.
Welcome, Martha. Marco?
Hello, everybody. This is Marco calling in from New York in the US.
Welcome, Marco. Wendy?
Wendy from Sydney, Australia. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome, Wendy. Alexander?
Hi, this is Alexander calling from Brooklyn, New York, United States.
Welcome, Alexander. Alithia? Welcome, Alithia, calling in from Sydney, Australia. Annette?
Hello, everyone. Annette calling in from the South Island of New Zealand.
Welcome, Annette. Antoinette?
Good day, everybody. Antoinette, and I'm calling in from the sunny South Africa.
Welcome, Antoinette. Avon?
Avon Madison, San Francisco Bay Area, United States of America.
Welcome, Avon. Barbara Annabali?
Barbara, please unmute yourself.
Welcome, Barbara. Barbara Darden. Welcome, Barbara. Bernard. Welcome, Bernard. Welcome, Cheryl Binzen from Ames, Iowa in the United States. Christine.
Warm wishes from Michigan.
Welcome, Christine Thomas.
Good morning, everyone. It's Christine from the Sunshine Coast, Australia.
Welcome, Christine. Danielle. Welcome, Danielle. Deborah.
This is Deborah from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Welcome, Deborah. Dennis. Welcome, Dennis from Sydney, Australia. Diane.
This is Diane Adams from California in the United States.
Welcome, Diane. Diane Rogers.
This is Diane Rogers from Texas, USA.
Welcome, Diane. Eliza.
Hello, this is Eliza from the southeast of Brazil in South America.
Welcome, Eliza. Helen.
Hello, this is Helen from Durango, Colorado.
Welcome, Helen. Iris.
Hello, this is Iris from Brooklyn, United States.
Welcome, Iris. John.
Hello, everyone. This is John Horan from Washington, D.C. in the United States of America.
Welcome, John. Josette.
Hello, everyone. I am Josette from French, near Strasbourg.
Welcome, Josette. Karen.
Hello, everyone. This is Karen Gritska from Portland, Oregon, U.S.
Welcome, Karen. Lawrence.
Hello, this is Lawrence Flynn from southern Sweden, the coast of southern Sweden.
Welcome, Lawrence. Lucy.
Hello, everyone. This is Lucy calling from Geneva in Switzerland.
Welcome, Lucy. Lynn. Welcome, Lynn. Maria Caligari.
Hello, everyone. This is Maria from New York State, USA.
Welcome, Maria. Maria Cristina.
Maria Cristina Donadieu from the Arizona Sonora Desert straddling the United States and Mexico.
Welcome, Maria. Martin. Welcome, Martin. Marzia.
This is Marzia from Italy.
Welcome, Marzia. Michael.
Blessings, everyone. This is Michael from Ohio in the U.S.
Welcome, Michael. Mincy.
Hello, everyone. This is Mincy calling from Geneva in Switzerland.
Welcome, Mincy. Nancy.
Hello to everyone.
Welcome, Nancy.
Sorry, I missed my cue. This is Nancy from Virginia in the USA.
Welcome, Nancy. Nathaniel. Welcome, Nate. Olga.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Olga Belizganis from Athens, Greece.
Welcome, Olga. Richard.
Hello, this is Richard from Sunshine Coast, Australia.
Welcome, Richard. Risa.
Hello, everyone. California and Oklahoma.
Welcome, Risa. Sheldon.
Good morning, friends. This is Sheldon from Northern California, United States.
Welcome, Sheldon. Silvana.
Hello, everyone. It's Silvana from Melbourne, Australia.
Welcome, Silvana. Tanya. Welcome, Tanya. If anyone has joined since we began and would like to speak your name and where you're calling in from, please do so now.
If you would like to do so, just raise your hand and we will unmute you additionally.
Over to you, Alexander.
As we linked together heart to heart across the distance, let's see our circle of light covering the entire planet. And we bring our focus to the group heart center. And we expand our group heart center, aligning with the heart center of the new group of world servers. And we focus our group intention, working meditatively to support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we align with the vision that hold in Shambhala for humanity, the vision of the advancement on the path of evolution, with humanity standing in its role, taking responsibility to manifest the plan on the earth. May the power of the one life pour through the group of all true servers. May the love of the one soul characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones. May we fulfill our part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and the right speech. And we bring focus back to our group heart center, and we continue our work.
So today we welcome, as we always do, a triangle of focalizers. And these co-workers will share a few thoughts, following which Wendy with Sydney Goodwill will lead us in a meditation, and then we will have a group conversation. So please welcome Marco Toscano-Rivalta, an international civil servant with over 20 years of service for international cooperation with the United Nations and other international organizations, both in the field and at the headquarters, in the areas of elections, human rights, justice administration, refugees, internal displacement, humanitarian relief, disaster risk management, and negotiations. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you very much, Dot, and thank you for having me to share a few thoughts today. Just to double check if you can clearly hear me.
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe today just a few thoughts along the following lines. An initial appreciation of the meaning of the SDGs from an international relations perspective. And then I would like to touch upon some of the less evident meanings of the SDGs, things that we don't normally do not really speak about. On the first part, appreciating the meaning of the SDGs from an international relations perspective, maybe it's a good question to ask ourselves is, where do they really come from? And I appreciate these initial remarks around the 100th anniversary, in the sense that 1919 was a major turning point. We have the founding of the League of Nations, which created a new concept, literally, which is the one of international civil service, whereby you had a number of functionaries that were not having an allegiance to the government of the country of origin. So people that would look after the sort of emerging global interests without having to serve the specific interests of the countries where they were from. And this is really absolutely a new thing altogether in the overall history of relations among peoples and then modern life countries. But then also another important century is the International Federation of the Red Cross was also created at that time, and we know that the Red Cross movement is probably the largest movement of volunteers around the world. Estimate says there are over 100 million people, and that is an amazing force in terms of goodwill that is fostering new relations across countries and people. But a fundamental then turning point is really marked by the United Nations Charter, which amongst many innovations has a very specific point, and it has fundamental change of the peace paradigm, which for millennia has been based on force. And indeed, the United Nations Charter placed the accent on development. It may sound just a few words, but in reality, when you think through, or when you try to think through the impact that it has on the way we conceive relations, is quite incredible and is huge. I think it will take us decades, if not hundreds of years, to really understand what this change of paradigm may actually mean and fundamentally requires on us. And more specifically than on the SDGs, they come from this new concept of international cooperation for development that gets introduced in the Charter and was not in the League of Nations nor in previous international agreement of this nature. So it's really the Charter, with its Article 1 and its chapter number 9 focused on international cooperations, that opens up a completely different way of conceiving international relations. Then you have a few years right after the Charter, from 45 to 60, let's say, where the concept of international cooperation or technical cooperation starts to emerge, but it's really under Dag Hammarskjöld that we have a fundamental change in the way international organizations, international civil servants can work with countries to develop a new way of thinking for the interest of humanity. And then, in fact, it is in the 60s that we have the first United Nations decade for development, which lasts for 3 times, so taking us until the 90s. And then in the 90s, you have another major paradigm change, which is a huge number of conferences that start highlighting on different topics in the interest of humanity, human rights, social development, rights of women, and so on and so forth. Now, the conference of the 90s paved the way to the conceptualization of the MDGs in the year 2000. And then we do know that the MDGs then take us to the SDGs. So in 2015, so we can say that the SDGs are not something that is just coming now, but it has behind basically around 70 years of let's say around 70 years of very powerful history of converging goodwill. And in that sense, I think that it is important also to say that international cooperation for development is, I would say, that's the way I like to paraphrase it in English, is not 100 years old, but it's 100 years young. Because when we look at this change of paradigm in the much broader history of humanity of hundreds of thousands of years, then we do understand that if there are imperfections in the way countries are starting to relate to each other and trying to cooperate, I think it's just normal. In the fact that it's rather natural that at the beginning of a massive experiment, a number of things needs to be fixed, and it's important to speak about what is not working in order to more and more internalize what needs to be done. Because there have been a lot of criticisms that the SDGs do not really contain everything; they're not clear on certain aspects. But on the other side, it's absolutely true that I guess until even 20 to 30 years ago, it was just impossible to conceive an idea of that nature. And in a way, the SDGs are pushing us to think international cooperation as going beyond the solidarity. And that is something, again, rather new, that in international cooperation discourse normally is not necessarily that evident. And this takes me to maybe focus on some of the less evident meanings of the SDGs. I think that overall they are an incredible, unprecedented expression of synthesis. And I think that is represented by the motto that accompanies the SDGs with "Leave no one behind." That personally is really the things that I like the most, and it has a very powerful meaning behind it, and it reminds us that inequality, in fact, is growing. The fork between the rich and the poor is widening, and at the same time, the fact that this principle now is firmly embedded in international relations takes us to basically probably imagine that something is happening into global consciousness. It brings also a new way in which countries, let's say, a new ways in which the national and international dimensions talk to each other, and therefore a new way of thinking the so-called principles of unity in diversity. But I think also is important corollary, which is diversity in unity, and this is probably something that we are really forced to understand more at this stage. Sorry. And also, the SDGs are clearly forcing us to decide in a new way in the interest of the collective, and a new way of thinking, which is comprehensive on one side, and on the other side, and at the same time also quite detailed. I mean, that's why also SDGs, they have even indicators to measure progress. And I would say that on a different angle, also the SDGs can be considered as the result of an expression of three fundamental aspects of human consciousness. On the first aspect, one could say that the SDGs are an expression of synthesis in the form of a plan, one global plan. The second aspect, one could say that the SDGs are an expression of love, because the SDGs are actually an instrument to care for people. Thirdly, one could say that the SDGs are an expression of light, for they are an intelligent understanding of the the human and planetary problems, and actually ways to address them. And I would say that the SDGs overall, they point us that we are a very interesting stage in human consciousness of evolution. There is a clarity, and I think there is very strong indications that group consciousness is actually emerging because of the three dimensions that I just referred to, but also the way, the fact that the SDGs could have not been, let's say, conceived by one mind only. It was only through the negotiations and relations of thousands and thousands of people coming together to conceive this one. And that for me is quite remarkable, because it basically leads me to believe that a group is normally more intelligent than every single individual taken in and of itself or in and of herself. And that, sorry, that's my alarm telling that the 10 minutes are over. The last point that I would like to touch upon is the fact that the SDGs are in a way opening also a new channel in human consciousness, because they're forcing us in breaking silos, depicting a larger picture, and therefore fostering an alignment that was not there before, and therefore fostering the capacity to play our part in the larger picture without actually losing our specificity. And in that sense, giving much more meaning to diversity in a larger frame of unity. And in conclusion, what I would like to say is that in a way, 2030 is not that far. And while it's absolutely important that we focus over the next 12 years on implementing the SDGs, at the same time, I think it's also important to opening ourselves to the idea of what's next in the planning schemes. Again, we have seen the decades, we have seen the MDGs, we have seen the SDGs with an increasing convergence. 10 years will go by very fast, and I think it's quite important to start trying to conceive what's the new instrument through which collectively we can come together and around it in order to keep fostering the evolution of humanity. Not necessarily that we need to articulate it now, but just opening ourselves to new ideas in that direction, because changes do take place in the blink of an eye, even though sometimes we feel that it takes much longer than that. I would stop here and then happy to continue the conversation later.
Thank you, Marco. And as we take just a moment of silence, let us, in our hearts, offer gratitude to Marco for this sharing while we integrate, take in, and absorb what has been shared. Our second point in the focalizing triangle is Sydney Goodwill Unit of Service. Sydney Goodwill distributes World Goodwill newsletters and literature, holds meditation meetings, occasional seminars and workshops focused on the new consciousness and its emerging civilization, publishes a monthly e-newsletter reflecting current group thought, and maintains a point of focused intention for the inflow of new energies into the Sydney Centre. We welcome two directors with the Sydney Goodwill Unit of Service in Sydney, Australia, Judy Norman and Wendy Thompson. Judy has explored the Ageless Wisdom teachings for over 40 years and has written many articles inspired through group experience. After a working career stretching from teaching to IT project management, she is now fully engaged in group service work. She is inspired by the power of group consciousness and the unfolding nature of life and its emerging presence in all things. Wendy is a graduate from the Australian Television and Radio School and has worked as a writer, director, producer in the creative screen industries. She returned to the film school in 2002 as a teacher in directing and for the last 6 years has led 7 courses in the postgraduate program. Wendy's commitment to the Ageless Wisdom is lifelong, with a particular focus on igniting purpose through the realization of beauty in the one life. Let us welcome Judy and Wendy.
The Australian government commissioned Indigenous artist Jordana Angus to develop artwork for the SDGs in Australia. For her inspiration, she drew on her cultural tradition and connection to country to design 17 individual yet interconnected art strips, symbolizing each of the 17 interconnected Sustainable Development Goals. And her design captured the intention for embodiment for the Sustainable Development Goals throughout Australia. Sasha, can you change to the next slide? Thank you. We would like to acknowledge the custodians and the elders of the land and location from which we speak here in Sydney, Australia. In so doing, we also acknowledge with respect the custodians and elders of all the lands that make up our planet Earth.
Thanks, Wendy. We'd like to continue now with a short video clip. Thanks, Sasha. Next slide, thanks. She's alive, beautiful, complex. Our planet is the organically alive vehicle of a great living entity. To us, it is divinity. Its intention flows through all the kingdoms which make up the vehicle of expression of its life, from the subtle cosmic dimensions to the atomic cells in the Earth's substance of its material body. We participate as cells in this expression, interconnected elements of its body of manifestation. Our planet is alive. Its will radiates out from its point of being, is apprehended and distributed through Shambhala, the hierarchy, and us. The automatic pattern of its material being is driven by will, imprinted through the animal, plant, and mineral kingdoms. Its will is the divine plan. It is a living plan. It lives through us. It flows and unfolds through streams of love which create pathways of interconnection throughout. Spiritual love, soul love, personal love, the pull of the law of attraction. Love is the cohering power which holds everything together. It holds the planetary body together and all within it, to the degree that its flow is enabled. This is the divine circulatory flow. It carries the purpose which synthesizes and which is implemented through loving interconnections and exchange. The key to entering this divine circulatory flow is love, the will to love, the fire of love. And so the plan unfolds through a stream of love. This stream carries the divine intention to ignite the flame of the human heart. This flame is a light in every one of the Sustainable Development Goals. They are its beacons. And if we take all 17 together, we can see the fire of love of the mighty heart of the planet pouring through the heart of the human kingdom to bring life and sustain every part of the planetary vehicle of expression. Its lands, oceans, rivers, plants, animals, human beings, all who embody the one life of Earth, the synthesis of its life. What is the role of the Sustainable Development Goals in the unfolding divine plan? The SDGs bring the plan actively to the fore of human consciousness, front and centre. The Master DK described the plan as at present sensed as, and I quote, the production of a subjective synthesis in humanity and of a telepathic interplay which will eventually annihilate time. It will make available to every man all past achievements and knowledges. It will reveal to man the true significance of his mind and brain and make him the master of that equipment, and will make him therefore omnipresent and eventually open the door to omniscience. End quote. These words point to an exalted future that will unfold, and yet we are already beginning to see the production of a subjective synthesis in humanity and of a telepathic interplay. This is reflected in the global recognition of the SDGs. It implies a progressing development of sensitivity to one another, to all of humanity, and to the planet through an expanding awareness of and identification with the whole of our world. This conscious synthesis is reflected in the preamble to the Sustainable Development Goals, and I quote, The Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They address the global challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate, environmental degradation, prosperity, and peace and justice. The goals interconnect, and in order to leave no one behind, it is important that we achieve each goal and target by 2030, end quote. The intention of the SDGs is to leave no one and no thing behind. It includes everything that embodies the one life of Earth. No one left behind is a powerful assertion of conscious identification with the whole. The SDGs signal to the World Service Network, the new group of world servers, an expanding identification with the life aspect, the underlying synthesis of the whole. The Master DK describes this breadth of awareness, and I quote, "In the state of being which we call the monadic, it is realized that there is no identity apart from universality and no appreciation of the universal apart from the individual realization. A realization of identification with both the part and the whole," end quote. When we consciously share in the one life, everything flows where it is needed. Life resources are shared equitably according to need rather than desire or demand. The essential living organic process of mutual exchange of need and response, or invocation and evocation, operates freely and sustains the divine circulatory flow. Telepathic interplay is then automatic, and we enter the communion of life through all the kingdoms. We are receivers and distributors of the unfolding divine intention and are destined to become the custodians of the plan and thereby custodians of the planet. The SDGs are goals that arise from the soul of humanity. They signal that we are beginning to live as conscious souls, in the world yet not of the world, but as an extension of the spiritual hierarchy in the world. In this way, we open up a pathway of unfolding love for the reappearance of the Christ and the hierarchy, to institute the rule of the enlightened in the new era of the soul of light. The material substance of all planes and all forms of existence then becomes light-filled, and the mother of the world is restored to her true rule, radiating the essence of that light to nurture everything, and no one is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy, Wendy, Sydney Goodwill. And let us offer gratitude as we take a moment of silence to absorb the sharing. The third point of our focalizing triangle today is Martha Gallahue. Martha identified herself as a world server in 1995 during the Women's Conference in Hairu, China, where she represented a small group called Women Share, a US-based timeshare banking cooperative. Since then, she serves in many groups and with individuals whose focus is culture of peace and interfaith harmony. Martha was privileged to participate in group service at the UN during the intergovernmental hearings on the Sustainable Development Agenda in 2014 and 15. She contributes to several webinar initiatives seeking to promote interplanetary cooperation through group meditation in preparation for the 2025 conclave and beyond. We welcome you, Martha.
What wonderful talks, everybody. We touched on synthesis, love, telepathic interplay. Indeed, we reach into the light to bring it down to meet the need. In our 100th year and recollection of how these SDGs began, it is of note that it was nearly 100 years ago when the Mother of the World was revealed through Helena Rauruck. Humanity received the good news of the presence now to humanity, that the unitive way attainable through our fullest alignment with the fiery will of God was now. Those who are keenly attuned to this great revelation know the Mother of the World by other names: the Holy Spirit, the feminine aspect of the Christ, Divine Mother. Might we think of her as the Spirit of Peace, now in close collaboration with the Avatar of Synthesis, overshadowing the United Nations? Could this be a facet of the divine marriage that DK spoke about on page 32 of DNA 1, where he talks about the outer world of humanity engaging with the inner world of hierarchy? The Mother of the World is the distributor of Venusian illumination, a necessary link for the Earth to become a sacred planet. Let us ponder how this significant unfoldment contributes to the plan as it applies to the 2030 SDG agenda. Let us notice particularly how the revelation offered in early 20th century applies to gender empowerment in twofold aspect: the awakening of initiate consciousness and discipleship, and for world servers, the activation of synthetic cooperation into one spiritual world view as we continue to build the Rainbow Bridge, and the evolution of humanity into and through its first initiation. Our new moon focus in the last 17 months has been in assistance to this greater 20th, 21st century illumination. The 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda as a whole reflects humanity's progress in partnership with hierarchy. In our transition, it becomes the framework that enables humanity to work together as one, as said before by Marco. The framework where every collective act counts, no matter how small. Let us track humanity's progress in light of evocation, represented by the Mother of the World, who is said to be lifting her veil. We grasp substance in matter when we observe the growing influence of women today. A 20th century accomplishment in over 50 countries took place when women challenged prevailing patriarchal systems and, through much strife and danger, empowered themselves by winning voting rights. Further, we see everywhere the increased voice of women as peace builders, peace based in justice, the capacity to speak truth to power, and the bringing about of the power of healing from within enlightened consciousness. This month is Women's Month on the UN calendar, and yesterday we celebrated International Women's Day. You might change slides, Alex, if you like. SDG Goal 5 speaks specifically to the equal entitlement of women with men, and the UN agency called UN Women has published a booklet on how the growing influence of women in all sectors is essential to the achievement of the goals. Goal 5 is in fact a very solid illustration how all the goals are transformative, indivisible, and universal. So in concentrated attention among those who've actively meditated upon the potential and the unfoldment of the 2030 SDG agenda, we may begin to see certain trending already occurring that demonstrates new seedings of thought forms that can grow on the increasingly fertile soil because of what was formally ratified in September 2015. It may be well to read the entire Blue Book of the Destiny of Nations and to ponder upon what you recognize as to how your sphere of influence, how you catch those seeds that apply to world need now focalized in the UN SDG agenda. Here are some examples of what may lie ahead as we hold the plan in a willed intention, and appreciating those speakers before who pointed out that the Atlantean legacy of strife is losing its potency as the new Aquarian legacy of harmony gains ascendancy. This is the very purpose of the UN, harmony among the nations. We may use Goal 10, equality of nations, no matter their size, and Goal 16, peace and security, the 4 freedoms, to point this out. Natural law will grow increasingly potent in the systems of international law and education, and specifically through Gaia education, the power of our First Nations people who are not forgotten, as we appreciate the resurgence of their influence and their helping to restore the plan on Earth. It converges with humanity's collective common sense, something so often attributed to the feminine perspective of the divine power. Impacts will include increasing alignment within our social and political laws. Mother Earth will align. Goals 2, hunger, 3, well-being, 4, global citizenship, 5, lifelong learning, 6, clean water and sanitation, energy, 7, 8, meaningful work, 9, effective infrastructures, 11, sustainable cities, 12, sustainable consumption and production, 13, climate change, 14, life under the sea, 15, life on land, all of them packaged into one framework, demonstrating the work ahead for billions of us. The third point, well, we will have an expanded recognition of the glamour around male and female, which in light of the soul does not exist any more than race exists. We will become further, and it will become further understood, rather, in its implication. The masculine, feminine aspects of the human will become further internalized and fused into a more sacred interplay. This polarity, laid out in ancient traditions in Egypt, will be known in their inseparable polarity between matter and spirit, form and soul. Men and women will not be seen as an externalized entities, but as one. We already see this happening among the young as roles between the sexes are becoming increasingly blended. Codependence shifts into interdependence. The fourth change, imagination and intuition, as said before by Wendy and Judy, will be released and applied in the sphere of institution building. Some examples which are evident now. Passports may not end, but world passports will be expanded because we have now 10 million stateless persons among us. Wiser legal interpretations with regard to protection of outer space will emerge. The essential nature of family will become officially recognized and defined by what is now called chosen family. Chosen family as definition will become more mainstreamed than biological family. Children will be allowed to divorce their parents, and alongside this claim more than 2 parents if they choose. The secret to the eradication of poverty, Goal 1, will be penetrated as the true human destiny of sufficiency and will triumph over the dissemination of the glamour of scarcity, now proclaimed by our current materialistic economic system. Social change will increasingly align with the biological sciences demonstrated earlier when we noted the rise of gender fluidity, not yet fully understood but already in deep exploration in the field of microbiology. With the establishment of the 2030 SDG Agenda, Goal 17, noted already by increasing webs of partnership, humanity has planted the seed for the concept we are all world servers. Vision is merely the symbolic representation of revelation, we are told, in discipleship in the New Age. Billions of humans today are already world servers. We bring to the table in increasingly practical ways expanded consciousness, especially when we walk hand in hand with the illumined power of the Mother of the World, Sophia, who shows us how to stand in the fires of love, of planetary inclusivity. In Mary Oliver's words, we pay attention, get astonished, then tell about it. We close with the line of the great invocation, let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Over to you, Wendy.
Thank you, Martha. As we take just a moment of gratitude to absorb your sharing. Wendy, when you're ready, then will you please take us into the meditation?
Okay. A couple of comments by way of preamble. Firstly, in relation to language, the word forms used in this meditation draw more on the language used in the yoga teachings rather than Alice A. Bailey. I'm hoping we all understand the correlations between the physical realms and the manifest world, the soul and the subtle world, and the monadic or fiery world, so that we may with ease make adjustments. There's something beautifully alive about the sculpting of substance that results in the poetic word forms as captured in the teachings on fire. Secondly, the purpose of this meditation is to invite us to reflect on the real opportunity for transformation that comes as humanity recalibrates to its true essence within the monadic or fiery world. Indeed, within the teachings on fire, it is said that humanity's conscious communion with the cosmic magnet and the fire of space will afford the possibility for amelioration of earthly conditions. Knowing one's true identity in the cosmos will bestow better conditions on Earth through the process of radiatory substitution. So let's meditate with this thought in mind and heart. Centered in the heart center, reflect for a moment on the beauty pervading the evolutionary kingdoms through the externalized fabric of the Mother of the World, in the mineral, in the vegetable, in the animal, the human, and the superhuman kingdoms. Now transfer your awareness into the center of the group heart of the planetary world servers in the subjective or subtle realms. And take a moment to feel the rhythm of the beat of the group heart as it pulses through the etheric fabric of our planetary life. And observe in the heart any impressions that arise. Within the group heart, there are many chambers, and substanding all is the chamber of the fiery heart, within the fiery world and the fire of space. We enter the chamber of the fiery heart, where synthesis resides, where the fire of the cosmic magnet is at one with the fire of the group heart, is at one with the fire at the heart of every cell in the organism of the planetary life, embracing all of its kingdoms. Tenderly experience this communion within the fire of love in the group heart. It is said that the acceptance of the fire of love will confirm humanity in its conscious communion with the cosmic magnet, and that this communion with the fire of space will afford the possibility for the amelioration of earthly conditions. Reflect on this possibility that humanity's communion with the fire of space will afford the possibility for the amelioration of earthly conditions. distribution. The creativeness of cosmos affirms the cooperation of all spheres. We will distribute the energies contacted through a process of radiatory substitution as we progressively transfer our awareness as the group heart through the three worlds. Transfer awareness from the fiery chamber of the group heart into the subtle realms of being. Allow the fire of love to tenderly anchor within the subtle group heart. And now, transfer awareness as the group heart to the manifest or physical realms, where the fire of love infuses the plan as articulated through the synthesis of the Sustainable Development Goals. And Sasha, if you could change the slide. Thank you. So the slide on the screen has a mantram, and what we will do is say the mantram together, followed by a silent Om. So we further distribute the energies contacted as the mantram is sounded. We stand with the Christ in the fire of love to the glory of the One. Thank you.
As we gently come back into the circle of sharing in this moment, if you have something, a comment, an insight, a furthering of what our focalizers offered, please raise your hand. And we want to note that synthesis is such a keynote in this moment. And as Martha says, we reach into the light to bring it down and meet the need, turning promises into action. When Marco shared that the UN had made a such a significant shift from force to development, which takes us into the spirit of cooperation with a focus on solutions through the SDGs. And he asks, what's next? And we hear Sydney Goodwill offering that the SDGs are a living plan, consciously living through us as we realize a subjective synthesis, a blueprint for a more sustainable world for all. Thank you, and we invite comments, questions. As we are also mindful that there seems to be, not just in this webinar, but throughout the World Group, a timely and welcome focus in, on, and through silence. So as we hold silence together, also, let us share our thoughts, our insights, our comments.
This is Maria Cristina Donadieu. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I will just comment, besides the incredible powerfulness and beauty of today's presentation, during the meditation itself, immersed in that fiery, inclusive, permeating love, and becoming terribly aware of the need of the will aspect to hold and to strengthen, so that the part does not totally dissolve into the whole, but remains to somehow manifest that whole. That synthesis. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Maria Cristina.
Hello.
Hello.
I would like to contribute to this great meeting by expressing the slogan that was passed to us during the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in the year 2012, which says, without sharing, there is no justice. Without justice, there is no peace. And without peace, there is no future. Thank you.
Sheldon, please unmute yourself.
I just wanted to say that there was ever any doubt, at least in my mind, which there hasn't been, by the way, but about the power of the SDGs to manifest the plan to work itself out through. The mastery of this presentation is a living example of it. At this point, thank you is not enough. There was something so masterful about the various perspectives and the weaving together of the energies, both in specifics and in the beauty of the whole. So my God, thank you all. This has been extraordinary.
Hello, everyone. Yes, this was a most powerful, penetrating presentation. Thank you all who participated in it. For me, there was a very unusual apprehension of the coming together of the inner and outer worlds. It was, as others have said, such a beautiful weaving and interweaving of the dimensions. And we could really have through these presentations, all of them together, there is a sense of how the inner worlds are interpenetrating the outer. There's no longer a sense of separation, but we can see the plan unfolding on the physical plane, and we can feel the energies from the inner worlds moving us all to action. So my great thanks to everyone who participated, and I think this is a great send-off for the coming period of manifestation. Thank you all.
See, Tanya has her hand raised. Oh, it's gone.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, well, I just contributed with the slogan of Rio de Janeiro. Did you all hear it?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Okay, that was my message. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. As we approach our close, if there's anyone else who would like to share, please raise your hand now. Christine.
Hi, I just wanted to express a depth of gratitude also to the vocalizers who have done an amazing job of creating the space and the vision for, as others have said, the specifics and the whole, and moving us from the inner worlds to outer action. And I'd also like to thank the organising triangle also for the structure and the vessel that you have created for this to occur. It's just such a wonderful space that has been set up and is being held for these energies to come through. So thank you to all, and to all the participants who are contributing as well.
And one more comment from Avon.
Concurring with all the
Avon, please
gratitude.
unmute yourself.
Thank you. Concurring with all the gratitude that has been expressed for this extraordinary gathering today, and the organizers and participants. The timing of this, I'm and meditation was very relevant about the anchoring of this into the implementation aspect of the SDGs. And this is as everyone begins to gather for the Commission on the Status of Women now, that begins this week. And also with the upcoming Indigenous Peoples Forum, and with the Secretary General's high-level meeting that's going to be with his annual report on the synthesis of and report of the progress of the Sustainable Development Goals to date and what lies ahead. I'm just aware of how much this particular 2025 meditation and the synthesis that is pouring into that implementation, which is bringing together individuals and organizations who have never ever been involved with the United Nations, but the SDGs are becoming a focalizing point for building group energy and for cooperative engagement and implementation. And this is a manifestation of the group energy and consciousness that is now beginning to widen into all sectors for the implementation of the SDGs as part of the unfolding of the divine plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alexander, shall we close?
Yes, thank you everyone for the space that we've been holding together, not just today, but for the last 17 months. Each month meditating on one of the goals. And as we move forward, we invite you to strengthen our circle and to widen it. And next month, we start the third cycle going through 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we invite you to join this ongoing meditation, bringing our focus daily to SDGs. And in this new cycle, starting with this new moon, we invite you to join the meditation on the goal 1, no poverty. That's when we come to the full moon in Aries, we would gather the maximum of the energies flowing through from the sign of Aries through our group circle to distribution as we go to the next new moon in Aries, when we will get together on April 6th together to focus our group intention, focused intention in the fire of love for manifestation and implementation of the goal 1, no poverty. And as we will go further, we will bring our focus to each goal each month, and you can find the schedule of our third cycle in the handout section of the control panel, where you can see that each goal matches astrological sign of each month. And as we go through this third cycle, working with SDGs and astrological potencies of each month, each goal will get the boost of astrological energies from 3 different signs. And thus we will continue our work. And I invite you to join our coming full moon webinar on March 21st, Aries Solar Festival and also Equinox Festival. And with this webinar, we will open the new year cycle, celebrating the new astronomical and astrological year together. And the coordination group of the 2025 initiative will share the plans for the year and the year focus. So please join us on March 21st. And also I want to use this opportunity to invite you to join the widening circle of the groups that's coming together in preparation for the festival week of the new group of world servers in December 2019. Following this meeting, you will receive an email from the 2025 initiative who will join other groups in the circle, calling to the joint effort, bringing together the world group in a focused unity, coming to its planetary role. And the first event in this series of events will be happening on March 20th with a silent meditation of the world group circle coming together. So please look for emails in your inbox, and there will be more information how to join this new work or continuous work. Over to you, Dad.
So let us close our time together today as we continue to distribute the energies with a focus on the power of unity through silence. I'll share a quote from Wellesley Tudor Pole of Chalice Well in Glastonbury, who was the founder of the Big Ben Silent Minute. Following that reading, let us take 1 minute of silence together, followed by a single Om. Lift up your eyes into the hills. Reach up to the summit of your understanding. Look out from there. Learn how to widen your awareness through the attainment of the stillness of complete silence. In that silence, listen for the voice that will teach you all things, and be at peace. Oh.